I didn't want to play for anyone except Man United, so I went off to America. I wanted to get away from England. The league was starting, it was exciting. Had all the best players in the world going there. The money was good, the lifestyle was great, and the crowds were terrific. I went to New York first. I was going to sign for the Cosmos, but they wanted me to live in New York and I didn't fancy that. I wanted to be in the sunshine. And then they signed Pelé, of course, so they did the East against the West and Pelé against me. That was their big selling point in those days.
Que, como eu tinha parado de jogar aqui, profissional, porque já tinha jogado há 20 anos, eu falei, se eu for para a Europa, que me pagava muito mais do que pagou nos Estados Unidos, eu vou continuar a jogar da mesma maneira que eu joguei. Então, era melhor ficar aqui. Eu tinha a oportunidade de ver uma coisa nova, porque o futebol nos Estados Unidos estava começando, era um futebol mais de colégio. E aí eu pensei tudo isso, e por isso que eu aceitei ir para o Cosmo.
Talent was okay. There was plenty of talent, European, South American, and there was loads of talent coming in. You know, so there's no shortage of that. There's some great football being played by the Cosmos, and all over the States those are some really good teams and some great players.
We made a number of experiments back in the early mid days of the North American Soccer League. We introduced a number of things which, strangely enough, so many of them have now been adapted into the game at large. These dreadful passes back to goalkeepers, I mean, all that's gone now. That was our idea. Even things like identifying players by a constant number, and not number 2's the right back, number 3's the left back every week, so you didn't know who was playing. That emanated from here. Names on the backs of the shirts emanated from here. Quite a number of our changes have sort of drifted off into the world at large. The one drastic thing that we tried that we thought was successful, that everyone else has kind of frowned at, was the idea of a 35-yard line, beyond which offside, you know, within the middle of the field, offside didn't exist. And what that created, we thought, was a lot more room for skillful players to operate without being clobbered by people whose job it was simply to clobber skillful players. It worked well for us in being able to allow players like Pelé and George Best and Rodney Marsh and Nenny Kubias to have just that extra yard or so of room to do something in. But FIFA frowned upon it, and eventually we gave up and didn't try it anymore. But you know, a lot of the things that people, you know, coming from overseas myself and hearing what people say about American soccer, there was a far greater degree of belief that we were changing everything, simply because a lot of people were talking about changing everything. I mean, we had people talking about changing the size of the goals. There was some logic to that. When the size of the goals was established, the average height of goalkeepers was 5'6". Well, you know, now they're 6'4". So isn't there some logic there? But that was never attempted by us. And but nonetheless, I know from talking to people out in the sort of wider world, everyone thinks everything we did was crazy. It wasn't.
There were some great matches. I watched some matches, not on television, and that's the reason it didn't take off in America, was because they didn't get the exposure on television. And if you don't get that, you're dead, particularly in America. And that's what happened. That's why it failed.
Coverage was non-existent. I mean, it's just you got a couple of lines if you were lucky, and the score, and that was about it. Because they'd been brought up, the kids had been brought up in American football, baseball, ice hockey, basketball. So football was a minority sport in a massive country, probably the most sports-minded country in the world. But football wasn't their game, so they were never going to take to it, the Americans.
Americans have great difficulty understanding the attraction of soccer because American games can be segmented into individual actions and into individual statistics. Soccer has continuous fluid action. American games are fairly high scoring, and nothing-to-nothing games are something you cannot sell in America.
They didn't understand it. I mean, I don't understand baseball or basketball. The Americans were the same. They didn't understand the offside law. They didn't understand most of the stuff that they were watching. I mean, the only time they made a noise was when it was a goal. And that's as much as they knew about football, most of them.
Here we were in a country in which other sports had had maybe as long as a century in which to make themselves entrenched major sports. At the same time, here we were in a sport which in the rest of the world was totally entrenched. So we were trying on the one hand to catch up to the rest of the world in soccer terms, we're trying on the other hand to catch up with other professional sports in American terms. And in fact, you know, we've gone from basically zero to where we are today in some 30-odd years.